I don't think 22-year-old me would have ever expected to be where I am now. Because 22-year-old me was in survivor mode for the most part. 22-year-old me was always trying to figure out what's next, what's next, what's next. Now, 34, I'm just like, man, it is what it is. If I can't fix it now, it probably ain't gonna get fixed now.
Hey, everybody, this is Kerristen, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Relocate Podcast. So, before we get into it, you know your girl is on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So, if you don't give me a follow, I might just holler. Now, on to the good stuff. Today, I have with us someone who is near and dear to my heart. He is from the great city of Charleston, South Carolina, currently living in Glen Burnie. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Maryland. He is a self-proclaimed blurred tattoo fanatic, member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I hope I'm not missing out on anything. Oh, he loves tattoos too, y'all. He got like a bunch of tattoos. Bunch of them.
Almost 30.
Oh, almost 30. Okay. We have with us today Brandon Haynes. How are you, sir? With your 30 tattoos.
In the words of someone from our native area, I'm blessed, black, and highly favored.
Okay.
Every day above ground is a good one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, indeed.
How about you? How are you? It's been so long since we actually spoke to each other.
You know, I'm good. I'm good. Life has been like trying to life lately.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it can't always be peaceful and good forever, but I am hanging in there. I've already had a few episodes already from people who live in Charleston, and then I mentioned briefly my experience with the Low Country during my episode. So I think it's great to get another perspective on how you feel about Charleston, how your upbringing was. Let's just start there. What was Charleston like for you?
Charleston for me will always be home. I know when I go to Charleston, I know, first of all, my accent is going to come out stronger because it always does. I know I'm going to eat good. I know I'm going to see a lot of family, a lot of friends. It's going to be a lot of laughter. It's going to be a place of peace and a place of comfort. But I also know that I cannot stay in Charleston if I want to make myself better. So Charleston will always be home, but it's a place where I can't stay too long, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As the youngest of four, I mean, everybody always, I guess they expected me to stay home, to stay closer to my mom, but my mom was one of the ones that actually just pushed me out of there. It was like, hey, you're not staying here. You need to do something else, but get out of here. So, yeah, that's what I did. That's what Charleston is for me. Charleston will always be home. But yeah.
So Mom Dukes was the one who put that bug in your ear to leave? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So it was actually funny. So growing up, I always said I wanted to stay in Charleston because all of my friends are there and stuff like that. But my mom, once we turned like 12, 13 and stuff, that's when she started sending all of us like to our uncles and aunts in the other states. Most times I was in North Carolina, up in Raleigh. My sister went to Connecticut, North Carolina. Jarrell, one of my older brothers, he went to Connecticut, North Carolina. And Alex was just always playing sports, so he's always going somewhere. And that's when I started, the travel bug kind of hit me then. And every summer I used to always just look forward to like, oh, where are we going next? Where's the next place I'm going to go? And so as I started venturing out to all these other places, I'm like, oh, I actually like it here. This could be a nice place to live. Then when it came to school, or they came to trying to figure out college and stuff like that, I was going to go to Florida. My mom was like, no, because the rest of my siblings went to South Carolina schools. I wanted to be different. I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to go somewhere else. And Florida was number one on my mind because I got accepted in Bethune and to FAMU. So I was going to be like, I don't need to do this. I don't need to be in South Carolina anymore earlier. But then my mom was like, I know you. You're going to go to Florida. You're going to come back wild. No. Let's keep you close. Then send you out. And KB, you met my mom, so you're like, yeah, I can see you saying that. I can see you. And you know me, so it's like, yeah, I can see you coming back a little bit wild.
You said it, not me. Okay.
Listen, I know who I was then. And as much as I tried to deny it, I was denying it. But like, no, I would go to school. I would go to class every day. Not if I'm at Daytona Beach at Bethune-Cookman. I'm going to the beach. I'm trying to go see girls. I'm trying to not be in class. I'm trying to be in the sun all day. I'm not going to school. I'm not going to class. What's that? But I think she had the right thing in mind, sending me to a local school. So I did that. Went to Claflin,
shout out to
graduated.
Claflin.
Right? See you. You know. Went to Claflin, graduated there, then had an opportunity to go to Arkansas, did that, came back home, went to Raleigh for like 6-7 years, and yeah, now I'm here. Now I'm here in Maryland. I love it here so far. I've only been here for like 2-3 months. I feel like the little Uzi meme, like I only been here 3 days. I don't really know what's going on. But so far, it's beautiful up here. Well, it's beautiful up here. Like right outside of Baltimore, right about 45 minutes to an hour outside of DC, 4 hours from New York, 2.5 hours from Philly. I'm good.
Thank you for the summary.
I'm good.
Oh my gosh. You just made my life so easy. Oh.
I know you didn't
love it here.
It, but yeah.
I love it here. Oh man. And like you took me down a trip down memory lane low key, just kind of talking about Charleston and the food. And I thought about that one day that we got like all those oysters, like a bushel. How many bushels was it like 5 bushels? Something like that. It was like a lot of oysters. And I have not been to an oyster roast since I left South Carolina. And
so it's funny because not the last time I was home, but the time before that, we did a big barbecue it was for Mother's Day. We did something for my grandmother for Mother's Day. And we had the big ass, excuse my language, but we had the big ass grill. And then we had an oyster roast. And I think Jarrell was going to buy like 2 or 3 bushels of crab just so we could eat that in the back, like in my mom's backyard. But I think it just cost too much at the time and we just didn't do it. But I too miss an oyster roast. I too miss a crab crack. It's not the same up here. It's like, it's like leaving from Charleston. Like I haven't noticed. Like you can't find anybody buying crab by the bushel, like selling crabs by the bushel, outside of outside of like the Low Country area for me at least. Because when I was in Raleigh, they did it by the dozen. And here, I think here they do it by the dozen as well. But you can also buy it by like a half dozen. But it just doesn't feel right because I want to have a good time with my friends, so we're going to buy this bushel. We're going to set up the big pot outside, and we're going to cook these mugs, and we're going to eat them. but they don't do it here. Maybe they do, but I've never seen it here. But we'll see. Maybe I'll start doing it myself.
I'm always talking about articles, and I don't even quote the source, but this came from the Post and Courier. Shout out to the Post and Courier in South Carolina. Yeah, man, they were talking about how expensive local seafood is, and how like the amount of people like going shrimping, crabbing, like what have you, is like dwindled because the prices from imports from like other countries are beating out the price of like fresh seafood. And I'm just convinced that the people who feel like the seafood in Charleston is expensive are those who are not from South Carolina.
Take me to the man that I know was out there on his boat at 4:00 in the morning getting the fresh crabs in. That's who I want to talk to. That's who I need to talk to. Yes.
Right.
I don't know. I specifically don't know who he is, but I know 5 people that can get me somebody's number who was out there first thing in the morning willing to sell some crabs.
Right. Let me get that Charlie Brown seafood.
I don't even know
straight from.
Open.
Oh, really?
A lot of I would have to ask my mom or somebody that's in the city right now if they even still open, because I know a lot of the seafood markets down there aren't even open anymore. I think the pandemic took a lot of them out. I'll have to ask, but hopefully they still are, because next time I go home, I already got my mouth ready for some red rice and crabs.
Oh, red rice! Oh my gosh!
Right.
I buy a little. Yo, folks that they not from South Carolina, when they be in Charleston, they be like, "Hey, yo, like, can you recommend a place for me to eat?" My mama don't like people like that at her house. That's all I recommend, because that's all I know.
Well,
she don't like people like that.
I will at least give them Nana's if Nana's still open. I know they had a location on Dorchester and a location like right off of 17. I want to say 17. No, 78. It was right off of 78. And there was another location. I forgot. There was a spot downtown Charleston that did garlic crab. What is the name of that spot? It was like a small blue house. And only like one person could go in at a time to order and get food. And that's how I knew that thing was gonna be delicious. Delicious.
Man, that reminds me of Martha Lou's, and that place closed, and that made me really sad when she died.
I wish I could remember that lady, that spot name. I think it was named after that lady too. But from what I'm hearing now, like back at home, traffic is worse. It's mad expensive to be down there now. My little cousins be like, I just stay home. That's all I do. I'm gonna go down there anyway. I'm gonna stick beside it. I'm gonna stick beside Charleston.
Yep. Okay, a little nostalgia. Okay, so I could talk about food all day, but for the sake of the people listening, I need to talk about you and your experience with flipping all these states and whatnot. So,
Okay.
All right. So yeah, you went to Claflin University, located in Orangeburg, South Carolina. HBCU, historically Black college and university. You graduated from there. Did you go? You went back home for a bit after you graduated, right?
I took the semester off, that fall semester off, because I just didn't want to go straight back to school.
That's understandable.
And yeah, I took that fall semester off. I think I stayed home for like 3 months. And then I, quote unquote, moved to Raleigh for like the last half of the year, or the last quarter of the year with my uncle. I was helping him out with his daughter, like taking her wherever she needs to go for a little bit. And then I came back home for like a week. And then it was time for me to go to Arkansas. And it was fun. It was the time that I spent not in school for those 6 months, 6-ish months, was the most peaceful time I ever had. Because I wasn't thinking about getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning to go to class. All I had to do was go to work, come home. Go to work, come home. Go to church too, because mom wasn't letting me stay home on Sundays. But other than that, work, home. That's it. Mm-hmm.
So I know South Carolina is the South.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas, I guess they consider that as the South too. What in the world initially drew you to Arkansas? What? I'm trying not to laugh. Like,
it is funny to think about it now, but to be honest with you, the first time I went, because I went on like a grad school tour my junior year, just because I wasn't really doing anything, and it was just something to get out of school. You know, not have to go to class. It was excuse stuff. I didn't have to worry about testing anything. Cool. And I met some people there. This dude named Marquez. I'm sorry, his name was Marquez, and this girl named Alex, and they were just cool people, just two cool people that were born and raised in Arkansas. And I was joking with them the whole time, like, this is the most country place I've ever been to. This is the only place I know where I've seen cornfields, surrounded by mountains, surrounded by hills. Yes, where I was at in Arkansas was Northwest Arkansas. So you were driving through Little Rock, and then it starts to get a little bit like mountainy. Then you actually go into the mountains, and then you're in a flat land of like just straight country stuff. And there in the small town is Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is where the University of Arkansas actually is. That first visit was just like I said, it was just something to get out of school with. Now, the next year, I got cool with the recruiters that Arkansas was sending. This black lady named Shawnee, and this dude named Alfred. Shawnee was just one of the realest people you've ever met. Shawnee reminded me like an older cousin. She was just like, let me see your grades. Let me see your grades. You know you qualify for this fellowship, right? It was called the Benjamin Franklin Leaver Fellowship. And basically, it paid my tuition. Any other school I applied to, I didn't get no fellowship because my GPA was just a little too low. I had a 3.4 graduating Claflin. Everybody else wanted a 3.5 or above. And once they said, "Hey, your tuition is paid for with this fellowship," all right, let's go. All right, let's do it. I met cool people there. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm down.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. I'd rather not pay a whole bunch of money on trying to get student loans if I have my whole tuition paid for. So all I had to do was just take out a loan for room and board. That's what drew me to Arkansas. We'll pay for your tuition. I'm going. That's all I had to hear.
Yeah.
And that's all my mom had to hear. Because she told me I was stupid if I didn't do it. And not so many words. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So I came with receipts. The Black population in Charleston, South Carolina is 18.1%. Percentage of Black people in Fayetteville, it's like 5%. It's like if you went to a whole HBCU in like arguably one of the blackest cities in South Carolina. So, did you face any unique challenges as like in Arkansas as a Black man? That's really what I want to know, because when I hear Arkansas, I think of like KKK and like the white flags, and I mean, I don't think anything politically good has ever came from Arkansas, but I might be wrong. But I also might be right.
I'm not sure if this is good or not, but Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton both came from Arkansas. I'm not sure how people feel about that. I'm not sure how people.
Okay, cool.
They have so the house that they live in. Quick side note: the house that they used to live in is now a museum on campus. My time there, it was closed for renovations. So I know you just said like 5% of the black population. It was 5% black population or something like that. Arkansas actually has, from what I remember, has 3 HBCUs. UAPB, Philander Smith, and if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Henderson University. I think it's Henderson State or Henderson University is out there. So, granted, Philander and Henderson, I think, were in Little Rock, and UAPB was also Pine Bluff. 3 hours basically away from where I was. But Fayetteville, yeah, that makes sense. The black population being that low, that makes sense. It really felt like all the black people knew each other, and that felt great. Like, my first day on campus, granted, growing up, you know, sometimes how Greeks have like a little joke like, yeah, we don't like this person, we don't like this organization, we might crack jokes here, we might crack jokes there. Nah, there, everybody was cool with everybody. My first day on campus, I'm walking out of my dorm and stuff like that because I stayed on campus in grad housing, and these 2 alphas just walk up to me. They were like, "Hey, you new?" Like, yeah. That's like, "Oh, you must be going to the function that's in the student center right now because the seniors were throwing something." I'm like, "Yeah." They was like, "All right, man, walk with us." You know, some other places you'd be like, "Man, I ain't messing with y'all. Make it out my face." But I didn't know nobody. B, it was just that cool because once we got there, alphas, deltas, AKAs, they didn't have any SC roles at the time, unfortunately. Qs, Kappas, everybody's just there in the student center holding, like, just supporting everything. Like, and it was beautiful to see because, you know, like, yeah, here in South Carolina, yeah, we might come out and support, but, like, you know, we going to be with our cliques. Everybody was just intermingled, and it felt good. It looked good. It felt good. But the funniest thing that happened that day was while I'm talking to Frat, these 2 deltas come up to me, look at me because they're looking up at me because I'm tall. We don't know you. Who are you? So I'm looking at them like, why am I talking to you? But I introduced myself because I am new. But it just felt like, dang, this is real. Like I like this place already. I like these people. It was fun. I had great times. I met great people. The experience coming from the HBCU going to the PWI was a lot for me. I don't think I really took advantage of what I should have took advantage of while I was there, but I wouldn't redo it. I probably would make a little bit better decisions. Maybe I would have studied a little bit more, but like I enjoyed my time there and I don't regret what I've done. And the people I've met, I still have friendships with. Still check in with some of my professors from time to time.
Going to class, doing the work, you know, all of that was different from an HBCU. Am I quoting you correctly? Is that what you said?
For the most part, yeah. I feel like I told you this like in like other conversations, but when it came to when it came to like classwork and like class participation at Arkansas, granted my classes were bigger. The program that I was involved in at Claflin, like kind of didn't really prepare me for the actual theory of what I studied at Claflin. What Claflin taught me was, okay, you're gonna go on these jobs. You're gonna know how to do what you're supposed to do. But University of Arkansas the program there was really more of, well, this is the theory of yada yada yada.
What'd you study?
Recreation and sport management.
Oh,
I did recreation and sport management at Claflin. And granted,
okay.
not again, I'm not trying to down talk my program because it was a fun program. We threw like the way that we got graded, we had to throw events, like actual events, and we had to be the operations teams. We had to be the facilities teams. We had to do crowd work. We had to do advertisement. We had to be like we had to do a piece of everything, and that was your grade. So yeah, I could go in the job and know how to do X, Y, and Z. But when it came to the actual study of recreation and sports management, I will honestly say I don't think I was fully prepared for that at Claflin. And that's something I should have been prepared for.
You eventually left Arkansas, and
Mm-hmm.
from there, you went straight to North Carolina, to Raleigh, Durham, that
Nope.
area,
Uh,
or
from there, I actually came back home.
okay.
I lived in Charleston for 4 years. I did 4 years back in Charleston, mostly to help take care of my grandmother and stuff like that, make sure that she was straight. And after that is when I went to North Carolina.
What was going through your mind when you moved back to South Carolina?
I thought I was a failure at one point, um, because I just didn't think I was ready for. I didn't think I was ready for grad school, even though I did a whole year there, and like I didn't do bad. It just mentally I just wasn't ready. Like me coming back to Charleston without a degree meant that I don't know. I just didn't feel like I did something good. I felt more like I was having like imposter syndrome because what is a person like me doing there? You know, like why do I actually deserve to be here with all these people, with all these successful people around me, and me, I'm just here. I think what made me feel better about that is just that like my mom and like a lot of my friends, you in particular, when I came home, like y'all just like really big me up. It was like you actually got out of like you did something. You got to go places. Like not a lot of people don't leave Charleston. A lot of people don't leave the areas they grew up in. I know some people who haven't left downtown Charleston, haven't even been to North Charleston, and I've been to Arkansas. I've been to just going to Arkansas. I've been to Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. Never been to Memphis until I went to Arkansas. Thanks to, like I said, it was thanks to people like you and my mom and a couple other my friends, Jarvis, Danny, um, Jimmy, like just helping me get out that funk, and it actually made me want to go ahead and be like, all right, I'm not going to be in Charleston that long, even though I stayed a little longer than I thought I was going to stay. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you. I don't think I ever thanked you for that, so thank you for that.
Not you about to make me cry. Oh,
Chill out. Chill out.
oh, because it makes me think about um like my experience a bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had that moment of like feeling like a failure because I moved to Georgia in 2011. Um, and like I kind of already moved to Georgia with that failure mentality anyways. Like I was supposed to graduate in 2011 and
Mm-hmm.
I failed a class. And I didn't find out that I failed until maybe a day or two before graduation. And I already had like everything like solidified, like a job, an apartment in Atlanta. So I'm like, what in the world? So I just moved and I took the class. I retook the class, but I retook it in Georgia at Kennesaw State because had I did it at Clemson, I would have had to be there and I needed to like uh I think wait like a and because it was like a fresh like class like they just introduced to the university, so they didn't offer it every year. yeah, it was tough. So I was like, okay, let me figure this out and try not to feel like a failure. But then I ended up staying in Atlanta for only a year and moved back to South Carolina where I didn't want to be. So then I'm like, dang, it's another reason to add to like the plate of failure per se. But now I don't see it as failure. I see it as like a way to like rise above adversity. But that was hard to think about, in the beginning. It took years. I'm gonna just put it there. It took years for me to get to that point where I felt like I can just move on and move forward and not feel that bad. Because, I mean, I was doing pretty good with school and whatnot until that point. And I'm thinking about like grade school and middle school, high school. Like I've never failed anything until that point. So I think I need to pat myself on the back. I think I did pretty good. Yeah.
You should give yourself some grace. I'm glad you're giving yourself some grace for that now.
Yeah.
I think with I don't know, I think I had, and this might be just me, but I think for me being the youngest child and my sister already had her, like she was getting her certifications, her like post-grad certifications. Alex was getting his master's. Jarrell was in the Air Force. And then it's just slowly on me. Brandon, it's like, Brandon, so what are you doing? I'm in school again. Oh, so what you in school for? Recreation sports management. Okay, how's that going? I've tired, but I'm getting the work done. But it seemed like I had room to complain, and I was homesick for a long time. It was so bad one day that one of my old managers for my first job wrote me a message on Facebook and was like, "Hey, cut that shit out. You are in the best place for you right now. Like your mom is proud of you. Everybody's proud of you. Like we get it. You're homesick. This place don't need you. You need to be. You're at exactly where you need to be.
Oh my
Mind you,
gosh.
right? And mind you, and I'm looking at who is this? Again, this is a white lady telling me this, and I'm like, who are you talking to? But Jennifer Carter, I love her to death. Like one of the realest managers I ever had, but she was one of the realest people I ever met. Like she told me what I needed to know, what I needed to actually survive in Arkansas. But when she found out that I came home, like she didn't scold me, she didn't belittle me. She just like, "What are you doing here?" Well, grad school's not for everybody. All right, let's see what you can do. And she gave me a job at my old job. Granted, I only worked there maybe for like, give or take, a month and a half before I started working for the hotels. Once she left, I left, and that was my whole little trip. And that was my whole little gimmick, and not even gimmick. That was what I was known for. Like that second half of living in South Carolina, I was the hotel plug.
Why be the hotel plugs? Like everybody I didn't talk to on this podcast, like all work for a hotel except for maybe one person.
Listen, those benefits for working at a hotel were clutch. All right?
Yep.
AGP for 4 years straight. My room was literally $35, $45 a night. While everybody else is paying the good old $199 rates. Nah, not me. $35 a night. I'm staying right downtown in Atlanta, close to where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Going to my brother's wedding. On my brother's wedding. I think the going rate that they negotiated was like $149. The hotel I stayed at the same hotel with everybody else. My hotel rate was only $45 a
night. I know that's right.
Only person that really took benefits of that was my mom. Every so often I would let other people use my hotel benefits, but then once they started putting the cap on it, yeah, nah, you ain't using that, big dog. I need that for me.
I feel you. Man, look, when I was at that point where I was like, I don't want to be in South Carolina anymore, I used those hotel benefits to like travel and scope out new places. The $39 rooms, $49 rooms. I remember going to Arizona, and this was around New Year's, and I think I paid $49 a night. And it was like a college game happening. Clemson played Ohio State. So I was like, okay, this is going to be, good, because all the other hotels I saw $500 a night. Close to you get to the stadium.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, me $39.99.
I think the best thing for my 28th birthday, I went to Universal Studios in Florida for my 28th birthday. And when I first booked the hotel, I booked just some random Hampton, downtown Orlando, $35 a night. I mean, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. I go back just to look on. I go back to the site that we could go to, and I see that the Waldorf on Disney Springs like thing was like $77 a night, and I'm like, when am I ever going to stay at a Waldorf again?
Right.
Let me go ahead and cancel this little $35 room. Let me go ahead and use this. Go ahead and go to the Waldorf on my friends and family benefits. But they got their money back from them damn resort fees. That's what they got their money back from.
Dang.
The resort fees ate me up. But where my room was, it was overlooking Epcot. So like when Epcot did the end of the night fireworks and everything, still saw it.
You got to see that from your room.
Got to see it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I love that. Even though I hate Florida, I love that. Okay. All right. Hey, let's get back to you in your experience being in Charleston, like coming back to Charleston. Oh my gosh, I'm a failure. Oh no. We can laugh about it now because you're in a better place. But like during that time, like you're back and you're just trying to like get it together. How exactly were you able to like change that mindset, get into a better place, and ultimately like pick yourself back up?
I had a praying grandmother who would not let me stay down for long, who would not let me beat up on myself for long. Friends like you. And I just was in the right place at the right time sometimes. The hotel job was, somebody got me onto that, and I was making good money doing that, helping take care of my grandmother, like, just doing odd jobs here and there. My mom, just basically, I had a lot of people like just making me feel like they just reminded me like, hey, everybody falls. Now it's time for you to get up. I think being home was one of the greatest opportunities I ever got, because it kind of felt like I got to enjoy not being in school for a longer period of time that I wanted to be, because I didn't learn anything. I didn't have anything being like drilled in my mind for stuff that I know that I didn't really care about. I had great friends, great family. Got to eat, and going back to the food earlier, we got to eat great food all the time. It was just fun. And then people wanting to help. Like, I didn't even have to tell them my story. They're just, hey, you cool. You seem like you'd be good for this position. Let me put your name down. Like, give me your resume. So, give them my resume. And that's basically how it was for like those 4 years until I decided it was time until an event happened, and it was time that I felt like it was time for me to go ahead and leave South Carolina again, because I felt like I was no longer needed in the area anymore. So I always wanted to live in Raleigh when I was younger, and I had an opportunity. I took it, and I ran, and I did it blindly. I had at the time, I had maybe like $2,000 to my name, and I just did it. I pulled the trigger and I did it, and it was the best thing I've ever done. Because granted, I was without a job for like a month or two, but I was applying everywhere. Um, did it when I finally got a job. When I finally got a job, it was a little temp job working at the court, just because it was some company supposed to be taking over trying to digitalize like a whole bunch of legal documents, and I was just a supervisor. So all I did was just sit there, $17 an hour, just sat there and watched people play with computers all day. That's it.
Not bad. Okay.
And then I got another opportunity. I had a family member who worked for another company, and that was a more solid, like secure job. And I got it, and I worked there, and I worked my ass off there. And for like the first 3 years, I was just lower level. Then I made it a little bit higher.
Is that how you got to Maryland?
Yep. So it was a funny story with how I got here exactly. So the last job I worked at, my current job now is a vendor for my last job. So when my job first started buying stuff from them, they started moving tools and items in, and I'm meeting some of the higher ups, and they're like, "Hey, you're a nice, cool individual. Like, you ever thought about working for or doing this?" And I was like, "No, never thought about it." They was like, "Well, you should apply." And I was like, "Nah, man, I just got here, like I ain't trying to step on nobody's toes. I just started this job. Let me get, solid with this job." And they're like, "Okay, cool. I mean, invitation's open. If you ever decide to do it, like, hey, just let us know." So that was 20. So I moved back to North Carolina in 2018. So we had that conversation in 2019. And ever since then, like, they will always be like, "Hey, you thought about it yet?" I'm like, "No." Mind you, they're not supposed to be doing this. So, I mean, I can't get in trouble now. So, because technically they were poaching me without poaching me, because it wasn't anybody that could have any real like consequence to them losing the contract. So they're like, "Hey, if you ever thought about it, there's a location, like we could get you a job, but cool." I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna stay loyal." Because at the time I was just like, "Man, I'm gonna be loyal to this job. They've been good to me, blah, blah, blah." Cool. 2022, I just got fed up one day. I was pissed. And I just pulled the trigger and I applied to an open position for a spot that they had at my current job, my then current job. And talked to the hiring manager, passed all the tests, like I passed both interviews, talked to like the regional manager and all that stuff. And they're like, "Okay, all right, if anything, we might not be able to hire you on this go round, but the next go round, like next month, we could get you in. We just gotta have a conversation with some other people." He goes for like 2 weeks because he has a big manager meeting, and he comes back. He was like, "So yeah, we can't hire you for this position here because there's a gentleman's agreement that if we hire somebody here, if we hire somebody from here, they have to be going for a year. And I need somebody now." Yeah. The look on your face is literally the look that I gave. The look on your face was the same look that I gave. And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah. When we signed the contract saying that if we were just so happen to hire anybody that used to work for them, that used to work for their company, that we can't have them working here for a year. So we could send you somewhere else for a year and bring you back. But we can't not just straight up hire you and you come in here tomorrow and work for us." Which I think I told you at the time when that first came around. I was like, "Hey, I might be moving to Texas." Because if I get the job, they're gonna send me to Texas for a couple months. A couple months actually would have been a year, and they were like, "Nah, we can't do that." Cool. So that fell through. So still work my job, and then another opportunity came around to where I could apply for the same position, but up here in Maryland. I was frustrated with my current job because they were making a whole bunch of changes, and I get it. Every job has changes, but these changes didn't make any sense.
Mm.
Nobody was getting a raise. Bonuses were trash. And I just said, you know what? What the hell? I'm just going to do it. I'm applying. And I applied. So I basically ended up getting the job. And all the way up until about to turn in my 2 weeks, no one knows anything. And so my bonus, it's time for us to talk about yearly bonuses and stuff like that. And, yearly review comes around. My manager is gassing me up. Like, you've been the hardest worker here. We noticed how hard you've been working. You stayed late, came in early, da-da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. We just want to say we appreciate you for doing that. And here's what we're going to give you. So they slide me the number. And I look at said number because I wanted to see what they were going to give me. $2. Yeah, that's 10. And my manager, yeah, that's the highest that we can give. That's 10%. Da 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 da. So I said, I appreciate all the kind words. You really don't know how much this means to me. But it's really going to suck for me to have to for me to do this. It didn't suck. It felt very fucking good. But it's going to suck for me to do this. But I'm officially turning in my 2 weeks. I've got a better opportunity somewhere else. Da 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 da. And so he's sitting there. He was like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew you did. I knew you had somewhere else. He was like, let me guess. Is it? And I was like, I can't give you that information because if I give you that information, you're going to walk me right now. Like, you're going to tell me don't come back. And so he was like, how much are they giving you? And I told him, I was like, it's a lot more than what you're giving me. Hourly is a lot more what you're giving me. And he was like, is there anything we can do to keep you? I was like, can you match it? No, we can't match it. So that whole conversation ends. I go to lunch. I come back. His boss has called for me to come see him. So I go see his boss, and he's like, I heard you got an opportunity. I heard you got a new job. First of all, congratulations. Da, da, da. We love to see everybody. We love to see people advance, blah, blah, blah. And he's telling me all this stuff like, in this industry, people really jump jobs every 2 to 3 years, da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, that's funny because I've been here for what was it, 2018 to 20. I was like, I've been here for 6. He was like, yeah, you're one of the more loyal ones that I know, da, 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 da. He was like, did anybody approach you about applying for this job? I was like, no one approached me. Lying out my ass. No one approached me. He was like, so no one came to speak to you about telling you to apply this, that, and third. I said, no one approached me. I did it on my own, researched on my own. Da da da. He was like, and there's nothing we can do to get you to stay. I said, can you match it? He was like, okay, what do you got? What are they giving you? And I told him, nah, we can't match that. And I was like, there's nothing you can do to get me to stay?
The disrespect.
The
audacity.
And it's funny because the dude that trained me, old African dude, he should have retired years ago, right? But he's building a house in his home country. for him to retire too. And when I told him what was going on, he was like, "If you don't take it, I will." He was like, "You'll be a fool if you don't take that money." Mm-hmm.
Little side note, where was he building the house at?
Ghana. He's from Ghana.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice house. I've seen pictures of it. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. And his house, he was going to keep his house in Durham and give that to his son. And him and his wife were going to move back to Ghana, and they were going to come back and forth between the holidays.
I have the similar mindset of like doing something like that, especially if our political climate doesn't really improve.
Yeah. I know.
I'm already financially preparing.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Maryland, where you've only been there for 3 months or so, and you said you like it there, and you mentioned what you did like about it. I mean, they didn't give you an option to like move anywhere else?
Not for this one. I am getting like random like job notifications because the job still sending me emails like, "Oh, you seem like a great fit here," and so like I get random ones for like Massachusetts and Santa Clara, but
California.
I also don't have Massachusetts or Santa Clara money, and they granted would have paid me enough to live comfortably there, but I don't know what comfortable is in Santa Clara. Because I've heard housing there is very short. Very, 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 very short.
Short or high?
Slim. Well, housing is slim, as in like they don't have that many places to be, and it is high to live there.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Maryland is. We living in Maryland.
It's close to it's a drivable It's a drivable home if I wanted to go home. My brother's about 4 hours away in New York. I mean, if I want to go to DC, I can just hop on the train and go to DC for in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're near some of those other folks that you talked about like earlier when you said that you moved back to South Carolina, and there were like certain people that kind of kept you like in good spirit. Don't some of those people live in those areas now, or
well,
like nearby you?
Yeah, Jimmy's about a couple hours away. I mean, J. Ray and Danny, they're still in Charleston. I'm trying to get them to venture out.
How do you feel about starting over again?
So I'll say this: when I left Arkansas, technically I had to I started over from there, and it wasn't that bad because I was home. I was at my mom's house. Leaving my mom's house and going to Raleigh was hard because I didn't have a job for like the first 2 months. But I still made some shape. But here, like starting over here was a lot easier because they gave me a moving bonus and I got a signing bonus. So the money was very, very nice. Very, very nice.
Oh, shucky ducky.
That's exactly what I said. When I got the letter and they said how much I got, I said,
That's what I'm talking about.
It was easier to start over here because I had money saved. And then when all the bonus money came in, I could just buy what I needed to buy, update what I need to update, get rid of what I wanted to get rid of. When I officially accepted the job, that Sunday my mom came up and my mom came to Raleigh and we drove up here and we started apartment hunting. Yeah, that was the most frustrating part of the whole move, was trying to find a place to stay, because I fell in love with two places. The place I'm in now, and there's another place, but financially, that other place was not good for me financially. This place was a lot better, and I love it. I love my little townhouse. It's amazing. So starting over wasn't that hard for me this time, but I would recommend that if anybody wants to do it, they should have a plan in case, like a plan ready in case they were planning on moving. Just go ahead and just start getting your ducks in a row. Or if you just wanted to relocate, just already have stuff set aside for that. That's what I did because I was planning on leaving my apartment anyway to another one, but then this job came along, and I was like, even better. Now I must actually look for a real place to stay.
That's good advice. That's good advice. What are you hoping to achieve this time by being in the Baltimore area?
I was always the person to go with the flow, but now I do actually have some goals. I want to actually. I think this is where I would actually settle down at. So I wanted my goals here now are to like settle down and like establish roots. And granted, I did say Maryland honestly was the highest I've ever go to live anywhere. So like I'm in the perfect spot because it don't get too hot, it don't get too cold. It might snow a little bit, but it ain't gonna be here that long. I want to experience everything this place has to offer because I didn't really do it in Arkansas because grad school and trying to make sure I pass on my classes. And I lived in Raleigh. I've been to places. I've seen things. Now here I'm in this whole new area that I barely know anything about. I have some familiarity with the area because I've been in this area a few times just visiting. So like now I just want to soak up what I can and plant roots. And if my job just so happens to send me somewhere else, as long as they pay for it, I'm fine with that.
Aww. Oh, we love to see it. We love to see progress. You mentioned that you have goals and you are approaching this opportunity, this new slate differently from previous opportunities that you've had in different cities and states. So my question to you is exactly what approach are you taking to get acclimated to where you are now, and any other approach that would help you build the life that you want for yourself in Maryland?
Well, first thing I did was honestly, I just like my first week or so here. I just drove around to a lot of places just to see what is what, where is where. Far I live from a decent Target, not that far, thank God. How far I am from like food places, how far I am from like the mall and stuff like that. Like I've been to DC more times than I ever thought I would have been within the last 2 or 3 months. I found a good church home. Well, I'm not sure if I want to call it a church home just yet. I've only been to like 3 services, but they're good. It sparked something in me to maybe want to start going back on the regular again. I have friends or associates that I've met throughout the years are in this area, so we hang out. My line brother, actually have a line brother that lives in Baltimore now. Mark lives in Baltimore now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Me and last time Jimmy was here, me and Jimmy was at his new place. It was very much so empty because he had just signed the lease, but it's his now. I think the church home thing, the church that I started going to might actually help out a lot more too because it feels kind of like home, but it's a little bit better than my home church. Because it makes me feel more willing to go there on the regular.
I love that.
Yeah, and truth be told, last time I've been to my home church, it was it was for a funeral, and I just haven't been back since.
That's very understandable. Yeah, there's certain things that about home that I would love to like embrace, but just can't. Kind of similar to like, what you mentioned about church at home versus where you are now. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad that you didn't let that deter you from, going to church in Maryland now. So that's really good. That's growth and grace as well, because I mean, you said it earlier, when things kind of like go left, like it's important to give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say I'm proud of you, and know just because things didn't work out like the way that you thought it would in Arkansas, you didn't let that just send your emotions and your mental to like a bottomless pit of just doom and gloom and WTF, So very happy that you're in a better place.
I think when it came to whole not being in the place of doom and gloom and stuff like that, like I told you before, it was like, if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for my mom, if it wasn't for Jarvis and Danny and everybody in the crew, Chris, if it wasn't for all of y'all, I probably would have been in the doom and gloom.
Very last question, because I'm very proud of you. And now that you're in Maryland, what words of advice would you give to that younger version of yourself that was in South Carolina?
Oh God.
Because who knew that you would be in Maryland after everything that you've been through? Like,
for me, take the time and embrace what's going on around you. Take the time to smell the flowers. This isn't a race. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Because I don't think 22-year-old me would have ever expected to be where I am now. Because 22-year-old me was in survivor mode for the most part. 22-year-old me was always trying to figure out what's next. Now, 34, I'm just like, man, it is what it is. If I can't fix it now, it probably ain't gonna get fixed now. Just embrace it. Just do it. Do what you got to do. Don't feel stressed out about everything. Because I felt, like I said, I was in survivor mode back then, and I was just trying to get through and get to the next part. Now I'm just like, we chill. We got this. No need to fret. No need to be worried. No need to freak out. Everything's gonna be okay. And I probably would have told myself to go out more.
Ooh.
Yeah. I was a homebody for the most part until I started hanging around all y'all, for real. Yep. I was a homebody until I started hanging out around all y'all. And every other weekend there was a kickback here, a kickback there. And that's what really chilled me out.
We out of survival mode.
Yeah, I'm out of survival mode.
Love
now
that.
I'm just I'm not coasting, but I'm taking what life is giving me and I'm making it happen.
Well, thank you, Brandon, for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Relocate Podcast. And make sure you tune in every Wednesday for a brand new episode. This is your girl, Kerristen, your host with the most. And we are out.